everyone, it's Rena, and today we are making a pop-up slider card. This card has been around for a while and you've probably seen it before. I'd never made one before and I was inspired by a link I saw on Pinterest, and I will include it in the comments below. The thing I like about this card is that you can really make the pop-up slider any size that you'd like, and I did add mine to a card base. So the tabs up here, and you just pull it and your little image or whatever you decide to add just pops up. And of course you could add something on the tag on this side also. I chose to leave mine blank, and it would fold down a little more. It's just that I've added this cluster of flowers over here so it keeps it up a little bit. And then also the way I added the slider on the back, there are two ways that you can add this mechanism on the back, and I added it to the back, and so I think it keeps it up a little more, but if you add it right to the front, then it'll lay a little flatter. But again, you just pull your little tag and your little image or whatever you want to add, slides up, and I made my card opening this way. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This card does measure 6 by 5 3/4, so it's a pretty good size card, and I think there's lots of extra room on the side so that you can embellish, and on the inside I added a little sentiment right there, but you could of course add another image. I think it would be cute to add maybe a little picture in here of whoever you're gifting it to. That would be cute, and then maybe adding something over here would be cute also. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so you are going to need a piece of cardstock for your base that measures 12 by 5 3/4, 12 by 5 3/4, and you're going to score it right down the middle at 6 inches. And like I said, this will then be your base. And I made my first card opening like this, but I think I'm going to make this one opening like this. It's completely up to you how you want to make it. And then you're going to need one piece that measures 5 1/2 by 5, and this is for the top piece of your mechanism, so it'll go right here on the top. Now if you did not want to add a card base that's folded, you could just cut 2 pieces of 5 1/2 by 5 and give away a single card without an opening, and then your slider's going to go right here. So you don't necessarily have to have a card base, completely up to you, and then of course you can add it like this or you can add it like this. The last piece that you're going to need is going to be your actual slider mechanism, and this piece measures 3 1/2 by 5, and this is going to go right here in the center. This card comes together pretty quickly and easily. You are going to want to go ahead and cut your designer cardstock as well. For this piece, normally I like to go 1/4 around, but this time I just went 1/8 less. So the size of this paper is 5 7/8 by 5 5/8. So it just leaves a teeny tiny border. And then I cut, again, this one I didn't leave any extra width at all, since I knew it was just going to go right here on the top. And so this piece I cut at 5 1/2 by 5, and then this last piece was 3 1/2 by 5. And so you're going to want to add your designer paper on top of your 2 pieces for your slider mechanism before you cut them, because it's going to be so much easier. It'll be a little harder to cut through. It'll take just a teeny tiny a little bit more effort to cut through them on your paper trimmer, but you definitely want to add them before you cut, because then it gets a little more difficult to add designer paper after. Now of course you could make this 1/4 inch smaller, completely up to you, however you want to do it. I did make mine the same sizes. So go ahead and make sure that you've already burnished your score line on your card base if you have one, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere my 2 pieces of designer paper to my cardstock, and then we'll come back and we'll start cutting our pieces out to make our slider. Okay? Okay, so I've adhered my designer paper to my cardstock, so I added my paper to the top of my base, and I've already added my designer paper to my 2 pieces for my slider mechanism. So you can go ahead and put your card base to the side for right now, because we're going to focus on your slider mechanism. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your piece that measures 5 1/2 by 5, and you're going to need your paper trimmer. Now, the really cool thing about this card, like I mentioned earlier, is that you can make these mechanisms as large or as small as you want. So whatever size you make this first piece, the 5.5 by 5, let's say you decide to make it 4 by 3, it doesn't matter. However big you make it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut 1 inch from the side, a line 1 inch, 1 inch, and 1 inch. The top part you're not going to cut because that's going to be where you put your card in. So you're going to go 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. So let's go ahead and start that. So I'm going to line up my card stock or my paper to the 1 inch mark. And right here, I'm gonna line up my blade to the 1 inch mark, okay? And so this side right here is 5 inches. So I'm gonna go from the 1 inch to the 4 inch, okay? So go ahead and do that all the way to 4 inches. So now you have an opening right here, okay? So I'm gonna rotate over and do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna line my paper up to the 1 inch mark, and then I'm gonna line my blade up to the 1 inch mark, and now I'm going to go make a cut all the way down to 4 inches. Okay, so now I have both my slits on my sides. Now what you want to do at this point is you're going to make a cut from this side to this side. Maybe you can see it better from here, from this side to this side. Now you need to know which side is going to be the side that's up for you, because you want to make sure that you add a cut on the bottom part. So if I were to add my cut right here, then it would make my card, my piece of cardstock, upside down, because my letters would be upside down. So just make sure that you're making your cut on each side and then on the bottom portion, because that's where your mechanism is going to be. So again, I'm going to line up my cardstock to the 1 inch line, and I'm going to line it up to the 1 inch mark right here. So this is an inch. Now this piece of cardstock is 5.5. So I'm going to go from the 1 inch mark to the 4.5 inch. This side was longer. So 1 all the way to 4.5, and that gives me my opening right here. Okay, so again, whatever size you make this, you can make it whatever size you want. All you have to do is cut in 1 inch on each side all around. So on this side we did 1 inch to 4 inches to make our line, and on this side we did 1 inch to 4.5 inches. So just to reiterate what we did, we lined it up to the 1 inch mark, and then we cut starting at the 1 inch point. And on this one, it was to 4.5 because it was longer. On this side, we lined it up to the 1 inch mark over here. Again, 1 inch right here to 4 inches up here, okay? So that's all you need your paper trimmer for. So now you need your scoreboard. And with your scoreboard, you're going to place your piece of 5.5 by 5 inch paper on the 5 inch side, and you're going to score, I'm sorry, let's rotate it like this. You're going to score at 1 inch and 2.5 inches. So my flap is opening up this way. So I'm going to score right here at 1 inch, which is basically the top of where my flap ends. And then I'm going to score at 2.5 inches, which is the middle between this line and this line, okay? So now you'll have 2 score lines, one here and one here. And then you're going to take your piece that measures 3.5 by 5 inches, and you're going to line up the bottom facing this way. This is my top, and at the bottom you're going to score a 1/2 inch. And I'm just double scoring it because it is 2 layers. It's my designer layer and my cardstock. Okay? So that's all you need your scoring tool for. So now what you're going to do is you're going to fold on the score line. You're going to fold up and you're going to burnish really well. I'm sorry if my camera shakes. And then you're going to fold this piece down and burnish really well. Okay, so now you have your piece that looks like this. So you folded up, you folded this piece up and you burnished right here, and then you folded this piece in and you burnished right here. Okay, so now for your half-inch piece that you scored, now is where you get to make a decision on how you want to attach this to your card. So you're going to go ahead and fold this up, fold your score line up, and burnish really well. And if you wanted to cut your designer paper a half-inch less so that you don't have to worry about the double fold here, you can do that. It's completely up to you, whatever is easiest. Okay, so now that we have scored our pieces, this piece is going to fit right inside here like this, and you have two options of how you want to seal this down. So you can add score tape to this side of your mechanism and seal it like this, or you can add score tape right here and seal it to the back right here. Completely up to you how you decide to do that. My card that I showed you earlier, I sealed it like this, so I added score tape right here and sealed it like this. I have made one other card that I have not decorated yet, but I sealed it, I added score tape on this side and I sealed it, or I attached it like this, and I feel like that one seems to lay flatter, but whatever works for you. But don't add your piece just yet. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and add your top piece to your card base. So make sure that you know if you're going to have your card base open like this or your card base open like this, and go ahead and add this piece. Now you're going to add adhesive to the back, and I actually already started adding some. Add adhesive here, here, and here. Do not add adhesive right here because this is where you're going to slide your mechanism slider piece into. So make sure you only add adhesive to these three sides and not the top part. So go ahead and add your adhesive. And you're going to want to go ahead and stick this onto your card base. Make sure you know which way you want your card to fold. Okay, and now you're going to go ahead and add your slider portion in, but you want to make sure that you already add either add your score tape here or add your score tape here. So I'm going to go ahead and add my score tape. And I don't have that out in front of me, so just give me one moment. Okay, so I went ahead and I added my score tape. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the back like I did the last time, but again, you can add your score tape here and adhere it to the front if you'd like. So I'm just gonna stick my scoring mechanism in, and it slides in perfectly because the width of your mechanism is the width of the square that we've cut out. So if you decide to make a mechanism that's larger or smaller, the way that you know how big your mechanism is going to be the size of the square that you cut out when you go 1 inch all around. So I've already slid this in here. I'm just going to slide it all the way to the very bottom, and then I'm just going to stick this on the top. And I slid it to the bottom because I know that's how far it's going to stretch. The top piece will stretch down, and it's going to line it up perfectly. And I'm just going to peel this piece off and just attach that, and then burnish that. And now my slider mechanism, my pop-up slider mechanism is ready. And you see it just slides open just like that. Now, I did add my little white piece of paper afterwards. If you want to add it before, you can definitely do that, so that way you have a place to, either you've already stamped your message. What I did the last time and what I'll have to do this time is I just cut a little square that was already pre-stamped and I just adhered it right here. but you can do it again however you'd like to do it, and then you can add a little hole right here and add your ribbon, or you can even make this use a decorative punch to make this have a decorative edge, however you'd like to do it. So this time my card opens like this, and I will add paper here and everything, but your slider mechanism is done. I hope that you'll try this card out, and if you're in my Facebook group, I'd love to see your pop-up slider cards that you make, and I'll be back again with a video pretty soon. Thanks, bye!